Please welcome the consumer man, Herb Weisbaum.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Hi there. How's everybody doing? Good. You will not hear the word trust leave my lips in the next half hour, except when I say don't trust anybody. That's the only thing. Okay, let me just read the room for a second. How many people will be rooting for the Eagles tomorrow? All right, go Birds. All right. I turned my phone off. Why is it ringing? Anyway, yeah, scam. I grew up in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. My father had a drugstore in King of Prussia. The former owner of the Eagles, Lenny Toast, used to come to our drugstore. So I go way back with the Eagles. And I remember when I was a young kid, they delivered prescriptions to your house. That was, wow, we had Amazon. We invented Amazon. And my mom would drive, and I was like 6 or 7 years old. I'd take the medicine. It was Mr. Toast's house, and I'd take the medicine. It was $7, and Mrs. Toast would say, "You're a nice young man. Keep the change." And I go back to the car, and I say, "Boy, Mom, I sure hope Mr. Toast gets sick again real soon." She said, "No, we don't want anybody to get sick." No. Anyway, so and for the other team, those who are rooting for Kansas City, you're going to lose. I'm sorry, but sometimes somebody else has got to win. That's just the way it is. So I'm assuming that if I push the green button, this will make it happen. So we'll see. Okay. I have been doing this, as Tom said, for a long, long time. For those of you in the town probably know me, I started at Cairo TV in 1981, created the consumer unit there, Como TV and radio. I was 10 years with CBS News, and I was also with the Today Show for a number of years with my friend Al. I actually did the first phishing story on the Today Show where we had to spell phishing on the air because no one had heard what phishing was. So it's pretty interesting. Now I work for checkbook.org, a wonderful nonprofit that is based in Washington, D.C. and rates services in 7 cities in the country, and Seattle happens to be one of them. I don't rate products. I write consumer stories once a week for them and also do their every other week podcast where I try to keep people smart but avoid ripoffs and scams. So we're going to talk about fraud today, and I completely redesigned my speech for this Retiremeet because so much has changed in the last couple of years. Basically, consumer fraud in general is skyrocketing, and cybercrime specifically is completely out of control, soaring exponentially from year to year. So that's what we're going to deal with and how you can protect yourself. And I'm going to share, I boil it down to 3 things that are really, really critical. First of all, your sensitive information has already been stolen and is being sold on the dark web. So get over it. Okay? Yes, it's still important to protect yourself. You've got to assume you've already been breached. It is out there. The bad guys are buying and selling your information on the dark web, and if you haven't been breached yet or a victim of cybercrime yet or some kind of fraud, you're lucky. They haven't gotten around to you yet. But if they do, they can do all kinds of nasty things. They can hack your account, open new accounts, steal government benefits, get medical care, and commit crime. So it's a really, really serious thing. Did I go by a slide here? Yes, I knew one skipped by. Look at the numbers here, 3,100 compromises in the last year, 6 mega breaches of 100 million files or more, 106 billion victim notices. And that's just last year. If you put together the last 10 years, we have been breached multiple times. There is no question that your information is out there and that the criminals are able to use it and do all the things that I said they could do with it. So you've got to act proactively to deal with this. Number 1 of the 3 tips, credit freeze. How many people here are going to get a round of applause from me that have already frozen their credit files Yay! All right, you got to do it at all 3 bureaus. You can't do it at just one because they're 3 separate companies, so you got to do it at all 3. And the benefit of a credit freeze is that it blocks access to your file. It doesn't stop all identity crime, but if a criminal has your social security number and your date of birth and your driver's license and all the stuff they can buy and sell on the dark web and tries to open a bank account in your name, tries to rent an apartment in your name, tries to get a utility service, phone company service in your name, open a credit card in your name, take out a car loan in your name, they can't because anybody who's got to run a credit check cannot run a credit check because the file is frozen. And that keeps the bad guys from doing some of the most serious damage they can do to you by opening these new files these new accounts in your name. A number of years ago, we had an account at BECU, my wife opened, and I asked her to, we're getting older, put my name on the account. And she said, sure. She went down to BECU, and they said, sorry, we can't do that. And she goes, what do you mean? Sorry, we can't do that. And they didn't give her a reason why. And I stopped and thought for a second. I said, oh yeah, our credit files are frozen. They can't put me on. They couldn't do a credit check. They couldn't run my number. If I had been a bad guy, it actually worked. These things actually do work, and they do stop criminals from accessing the accounts. Some things you need to know: you can temporarily thaw the account for if you would need to apply for credit. You can usually do it almost instantaneously, 30 minutes or less. When I went to buy my new car, I simply asked them which of the three are going to do my credit check on. They told me. I went online, I unfroze it, I had it automatically set to refreeze in 48 hours. They did the credit check, I was protected again. There's absolutely no problem, no muss, no fuss. It does not hurt your credit score. That's a big myth, that if you lock your file, it's going to hurt your credit scores. It has no impact on your credit score whatsoever. All it does is protect you. It does not impact current creditors. Nothing you're already established with. If somebody's got to pull your credit every year to do your insurance premiums or whatever it is, doesn't impact your current creditors at all. And it's free. It's absolutely free. So why not take advantage of it? You need to go to Experian, Equifax, and TransUnion, and they look for security freeze. Go on there. Don't let them sell you extra products, because they're going to try to sell you all kinds of other stuff like credit monitoring and stuff you probably don't need. Just get the freeze. It's for free. And while you're at it, make sure you do it for your kids. 1.5 million kids in this country have their identity stolen every year. Bad guys love to use a clean credit file or a non-credit file they created for your kid. So please, it takes more work. You've got to do some paperwork to prove you're not a criminal, but lock it up for your kids so when they're 18 and they decide to take out their first loan or get a college loan or get a credit card or whatever, they find out they have destroyed credit because some criminal's been using their credit for all these years. Tip number 2, use multi-factor authentication. So multi-factor authentication is your password when you do your log on, and then proof to get access. So probably you're all familiar. You get that second factor in a text, an email, a telephone call. You can use an authenticator app. I use one called Authy when I want to get on my Facebook account or my MailChimp account or things like that. It's something that hopefully the criminal does not have, that only you can have, that proves that it's you to get on this. So it's very, very important. Remember this: the worst password with multiple factor authentication is better than the best password without it. And don't take my word for it. That is from the Vice President of Identity Security at Microsoft, who told me that in my recent podcast that we just did on all this kind of stuff. Okay, so that you could have, because that long and strong password that we keep telling everybody to do, 20 characters long, if it's hacked, if they get into a breach, it's no longer a secure password. They have it. They can use it. So what stops them from using it? MFA. They don't have your cell phone. They don't have your computer. They don't have your authenticator app. You block them because they don't have, when they get your password, they can't use it. That's the value of MFA. And get a load of this. He told me there are 4,000 password attacks per second just at Microsoft. 4,000 per second. Then there's Apple and there's Amazon and there's all these Google. I mean, imagine how many attacks are taking place out there. We got to take this seriously, and we got to take steps to protect ourselves. He also gave me this statistic. They just ran a new survey. MFA stops 99.2% of password attacks. That is pretty darn good. 99.2% of password attacks. It's real easy to do. It's real easy to set up. Not every single company offers it, but especially for your financial accounts, make sure you have it on your credit, your financial accounts, brokerage accounts, anything like that. Some of them require you to have it. God bless them, but make sure you have that set up. You can use a password manager to store all this kind of stuff. Some of them are free. Some of them cost a little bit of money. They're so nice because you have that all with you on any one. If you pay for it, it's on every one of your devices. It stores all your passwords so you can have them all in one place, take them from device to device. And you can also generate the passwords with most password managers. So you can say, I need 12 characters, 10 characters, 9 characters. I mean, you might as well have a long and strong password, but that's not a guarantee that something terrible is. I use 20-digit passwords for really important things, and I store them in my password manager, and I can access it wherever I want to use my thumbprint. It pops up and I load it in. Here are the ones recommended by Consumer Reports. They just came out with their new recommendations. 1Password Family, $60 a year. Dashlane Premium, $60 a year. Keeper Unlimited, $17.50 a year. I use Keeper. It's very good. And the nice thing is it's on all, if you pay, it's on all your devices. There's Keeper Free. I started out with that just to see what it was like. And I'll give you an example how nice this is, having it on all your devices. I was waiting for a pretty important blood test from my doctor. And to get on the web portal, you got to have the password and the code and everything. And my cell phone rang and it said, the doctor has your results. Go to the portal. I wasn't at home, but I had the Keeper on my phone. I was able to log into Keeper. It gave me my password. I got on the portal and I found out that everything was okay. It saved me the 2 hours of being nervous and waiting until I got home and took care of things. So it's really very, very nice to have that situation. Set security alerts. If you haven't done this already for your bank accounts, for your credit card accounts, they all let you set security alerts. It's really easy, it's really fast. As you can see in here, you can pick and choose what you want to do. I want to know every time there's money taken out of an ATM. I want to know every time there's a foreign transaction because I don't make foreign transactions, so that's a big clue that somebody's messing around with my account. You can do all kinds of things here to deal this, and it's instantaneous. My wife went to use the ATM, and within seconds, I had an email that said, somebody just pulled $250 out of your account through an ATM. It's a really good way in real time to keep track of what's going on, because with identity theft and all other fraud, the faster you catch it and the faster you deal with it, the less the damage is going to be. You have to deal with this stuff quickly, because if they're really rooting around your account, they can drain your money before you know it. So the speed is your friend in this situation. All right. Credit monitoring, I get asked about that. It cannot stop identity theft. It only looks for signs of fraudulent activity. It's the bell that rings after the cow gets out of the barn. It doesn't keep the cow in the barn. Doesn't mean it's not valuable to have such a thing, but all these ads, and they overhype this whole thing, and it makes it sound like they can prevent identity theft. They cannot, despite the advertising claims, the bogus claims, remove personal information from the dark web. In many cases, they may not even be able to find if your information is on the dark web, because dark web now has paywalls that the criminals have to pay to get access to all your credit card numbers that they want to steal. Okay, this is really sophisticated stuff. This is not some teenage kids. This is multinational gangs doing this kind of stuff. They have help desks where you can call if it doesn't work, and they give money back guarantees to the criminals. I'm not kidding. This is like big stuff we're up against. So they can't find it on the dark web, and if they found it, they cannot remove it. They don't monitor everything. They only monitor certain things. And they always give, we'll give you $1 million if da-da-da-da-da. Most identity theft involves a hassle. It involves time. In most cases, if your credit card number is stolen, the credit card company is going to make it you whole. If somebody gets into your bank account through fraud, the bank account's going to take care of you. So I don't know a single person, I've never found a person who's ever gotten that money, because it's not money. You're dealing with the time and the frustration and the aggravation and the months and months and months it takes you to deal with that kind of thing. If you want to, when we're done, if we have time, I'll talk about tax identity fraud, because that's the big topic now. The average victim of tax identity fraud in the United States, according to a new report from the IRS, it takes 22 months to untangle that and get your refund. 22 months on average. That's why you don't want to have identity theft take place, because it's a real royal pain in the butt. Okay, this is number 3. Passkeys. Forget passwords whenever possible. Does anybody here know about what passkeys are? Have you heard of them? It's brand new. It's just basically good for you. It basically launched for real to the consumer in the beginning of last year, although it's been in the works for about 10 years now with all the tech companies. It is a unique encrypted digital private key created on your device. And your private key is associated with a public key that identifies the website or the app you're registered to. So the two are talking to each other. And the passkey on your device is bound to that company's website and will only work on that website. So let me give you a little description here of how this works. So you decide on your mobile device that you want to get a passkey from Amazon, which I recently did, okay? So you reach out to Amazon, say, yeah, I want the passkey. And then what happens is you get the Amazon passkey on your device. They know who you are on their device. And then if you decide you want to use it, the credentials are verified. So I go to log on with a passkey and says, do you really want to do this? And I got to either, however I log into my phone, I'll lock my phone. If you want, it's either a thumbprint, facial recognition, or a PIN code. The transaction does not go through until you authorize. It's almost like a big privacy thing plus an MFA. So you get the double benefit of doing that. It's very, very slick. It's very easy to do. And so that makes sense. So I go to log on Amazon. Yes, you want the passkey. The passkey puts a piece of code, encrypted code on my phone. That code says who I am, and it says I can only, with that passkey, log on to Amazon.com, the one I set it up with. If I get a phishing email and it's Amazon with 2Ns.com and I don't catch it, and they're trying to send me to a bogus email, a bogus website, that passkey will not log on to the bogus website. It protects me from phishing scams, which is the #1 way people are getting credentials these days. It's really slick. These guys thought about this. They all work together, and the only reason it's delayed implementation is because they wanted to be proprietary, like Apple wouldn't work with Microsoft, and they realized it wasn't going to work that way. In the beginning of the year, they said, okay, it can work on across all devices for any platform, whatever you have. So it's now interchangeable. You can have one device Apple, one device Microsoft, one device Google. It works on everybody. So it's really phenomenal. No strings, letters, or symbols. They've basically thought of every common attack now and how to block it. They have with passkeys. The bad guys will get around it eventually, but right now has blocked every single way that they attack you. There's no strings, letters, or numbers or symbols to remember because there isn't something. There's a piece of code on your phone. Is really good. There's nothing to lose. There's nothing to inadvertently share. Oh, I just gave my password. I shouldn't. He tricked me. He was a social engineer. He sounded like he was from the IRS. Can't do that. That takes care of that. Nothing for the bad guys to steal. They can't break into your machine. They can't do anything. It's encrypted code. It's only good for you. And no way to impersonate your authentication. You have to, every time, have that second factor. You got to do whatever gets you into your phone to say, yep, let this thing go forward. It is really slick. It is really great. I am so annoyed that the financial institutions basically have not adopted this yet. They should have been the first ones to adopt this. And I know they work under certain regulations, but there's no reason why they can't improve fraud protection. And it shouldn't be like Amazon and Facebook or whatever started launching this. It should be the financial institutions and the credit card companies that should be launching this. And they really need to get on the ball and get this moving to protect their customers. So again, I wanted to just go over this to make sure it's clear. That handshake between the device and your website is two-way, okay? So I go on to Amazon. Amazon makes sure it's me. Make sure it's really the Amazon. Yep, that's good to go. And then you have to authenticate this. So that also gets rid of the possibility of taking over an account or logging on to spoof websites. So basically, they've taken care of every single way at this point in time that the hackers are taking advantage of you, the criminals are taking advantage of you, and they lock them out with a passkey. It's really amazing, simple but amazing technology that they came up with. So please do that. So those are the three things you need to do. Lock up your credit reports, make sure you set up alerts, make sure you use passkeys, and those are three of the big things that you can do. I'll get do you have a question? Passkeys can be stored on your password manager. They now make it so you can have that same key on all of your devices, which is another really cool reason to have a password manager. So they thought about that they want to make it as simple as possible. Microsoft told me they hope within the next 12 months globally, if everything goes as planned, they will have 1 billion people signed up for passkeys in the first year of this rollout, which is pretty amazing. I just want, because we still do have to protect ourselves, we still do have to be wary. I mean, there are individual local criminals who aren't associated with gangs and et cetera, et cetera. So let me just run down a few things you can also do. Get your annual credit report from only this website, annualcreditreport.com. Don't Google free credit report or anything like that because you have no idea where you're going to wind up, probably not in a good place. And all you have to do is look at it and make sure that it's right. You know, if it has you living in a different place, if it has you opening a Chase account and you don't have a Chase account, if it has a lien on your mortgage and you don't have a lien on your mortgage or a mortgage, somebody's playing around with your identity, and it's a way to know what's going on and take care of it very quickly. So annualcreditreport.com, you have to get it from each of the 3 reporting agencies. Try to do it once a year and just go through it and just check that there's nothing out of place. Check your financial accounts. You don't have to be anal about it, but at least once a month, if you're not going on, just check, go online and make sure there's nothing crazy going on with your account, something that shouldn't be there. Check your medical billing statements. You know those things we get every month from the insurance company that say this is not a bill, and because it says this is not a bill, you ignore it and throw it away. Hopefully you shred it, you don't throw it in the trash. That is a great way to check for a problem, because medical identity theft now is huge. They take your Social Security number and get medical procedures or buy drugs or buy wheelchairs or whatever in your name, rip off Medicare, Medicaid, whoever they're ripping off, but it's in your name and it's going on your credit report. Well, by looking at that, if you didn't really have your kidneys taken out in Cleveland last month, I would say there's something wrong and you better check real quickly. And this is really, they pay more for a medical identity theft file. The bad guys, the highest rate for now is medical files. That's the top. They can pay like $250 for a medical file, where credit card numbers now are so common it could be $1. So that gives you some idea of where the cyber fraud is headed to medical identity theft. I did a story once with this young girl in high school, and there was a blood drive for kids that had gotten killed or injured in a car accident, and somebody had stolen her medical file. I had no idea. She had no idea they did it, and she was told, you can't donate blood. You have AIDS. It's like HIV. I don't have HIV. No, it says it here in your record. Turned out somebody had stolen her account, got treatment for AIDS in HIV in another state, and it was commingled with her account, and they had to work with the Red Cross. Took a couple of months to get it cleared up. But imagine if somebody had a procedure, somebody had one kidney removed using your name, and it got commingled with your medical record, or changed your blood type, and you're rushed into emergency. I mean, they're supposed to do all these protocols, but there could be some serious consequences. So just check that thing and see what's going on. And then monitor your credit scores. That's another good way. I don't need credit right now. There's nothing I'm really affected with. I mean, credit probably affects my insurance premiums on my car or whatever. But if you see that you're cruising along at 800 and you haven't done anything in the last 30 days, and all of a sudden your credit score drops to 650, somebody's playing around with your identity. That's a real good sign every 30 days or so if you sign up for the credit monitoring, or if you get an instantaneous alert that your credit's dropped for some unknown reason. That's a really good way to know that you're being played around with. Just a couple of rules for living in a digital world. I said I would say trust. Don't trust anything. Be skeptical. Question everything. Looks can be deceiving. AI can create Tom Hanks selling something. It can create these celebrities selling things. It can use their voice. And there's no undo button in the cyber world. You give them your Social Security number, you click on the bogus website and give out your information, it's done, it's gone. The old days, you could call me up and say, thanks for that story, Herb, I just watched you on the TV tonight, and I pulled the check out of the mailbox. and they're not gonna get my $10,000 for the oil well investment. Now you wire them the money, you Zelle them the money, whatever you do, it's gone. There's no getting it back. So you better stop and think before you do things. Finally, before I take a couple of questions, my website, consumerman.com, I'd like to encourage you to stop by there. If you go there, you can sign up for my weekly newsletter. I don't share it, sell it, or rent it. The only person who knows on that list besides me is my dog Sam, and I promise you he's not giving it to anybody. You'll get every podcast and every story I do, you'll get that every week from me, so you know what's going on. You might find something useful. And then it'll click out, like you'll get the pop-up. Consumerpedia is the podcast. If you're into podcasts, you can subscribe to it, consumerpedia.org. There's a great podcast we did a couple of months ago or a couple of weeks ago. You'll find one there on passkeys with a guy from Microsoft. He was really, really the latest and greatest on cyber theft and the whole routine. That was pretty cool. And then we have a special offer in your goodie bag, so you don't have to write this down. But for those of you who are on the interwebs, anybody who lives in these cities, including you folks here, if you haven't tried us out yet, because we rate stuff in Seattle, use the code checkbook.org/promo/30-day trial. You can check us out. You can see what's going on. There's no obligation. We'd love you to be a member, because that's how we pay for things. We don't accept any advertising whatsoever, so that's why we can tell it like it is. We're not Angie's List. We don't get paid for play. We actually rate things, have secret shoppers, people who are members in cities, rate products and services rate services for us. So that's really kind of cool. So, and again, I hope you, if you go to checkbook.org, by the way, because I know a lot of you are writing as furiously as you could. If you go to checkbook.org and search in the search bar, identity theft and fraud, There's an article I just wrote that goes on forever. I think it has 21 different ways that you can protect yourself from identity theft and fraud. So go to checkbook.org and just put in the search bar identity theft and fraud. It includes passkeys. It includes many of the things I talked to here and a lot of the things I didn't have time to talk about. All right, I think I have by my watch 5 minutes to take a few questions, so let's give that a try. Yes, ma'am.
One of the things that one of the ways I got nailed last year on my streaming platform accounts,
Uh-huh.
my Facebook account,
Uh-huh.
and basically one of them I was able to recover with the death rate. The Facebook account I was not. And basically my tip is check your email and don't like not look at your email, because I was sent an email saying that somebody had logged into my account, and then within a certain short amount of time they said your email has been changed. So I could not recover the account because the person, after they got into my account, very quickly went in and changed the email contact. So every time I tried to reset the password, they would send another email, but it was going to some other.
Okay. So her tip was that if you get a warning that someone's logged into your account and it wasn't you, to take it on. I'll give a caveat to that. Don't believe the email, because it could be a spoofing email. If you get one and you think there's a possibility or you're having a problem, contact the company and find out right away. You should be able to work with the fraud department at the streaming service and get it taken care of. So, well, for the streaming thing or whatever, you should be able to do that. So again, two-factor authentication would prevent that from happening, or the passkey. That's why on social media, that's a great thing for con artists to take over as well. Put two-factor authentication on all of your social media accounts. May not seem important. And by the way, don't use the same password on more than one account, because that's what they love. They break into they get the PTA account, or they get one of your passwords and your login information from one account, and then they just have an algorithm that runs on every single other account it could so they break into all of your accounts, especially for your financial accounts. They've got to be unique passwords with 2FA, multiple factor authentication. Do not reuse passwords. They love when you do that. It makes their life so. And by the way, I talked to a former con artist. He said, and you think you're being so clever because I'm just going to make this up, because in your bank account you put Herb E, and then on the second bank account you put Herb E ! And then on the other one you put He says the algorithms know this. They automatically run. We know which letter you tend to capitalize most often. They got this off. You're not going to fool them. Separate passwords for every account, so if they get one, they can't get into everything you have. Yes, sir.
Question on passkeys, sir. If we use Amazon on 3 different devices without the keeper, we do get 3 separate.
Good. He got them on all. Because if you're signed up for it, it goes across the platforms. Okay. So if you use password, you don't have to store it in your password manager. It will follow it over. He's done it on different devices, and the password follows it over on the different devices, which is awesome. Yes, ma'am.
Do you have any thoughts on how to protect the title of your home? I've heard about stealing the title.
Yes, and making a long story short, I wrote a huge article on that took me months to write. You can go find it on checkbook.org. It happens rarely. It doesn't happen as they make you seem on the commercials. We really took them to task for the scaremongering they've done. They've been sued for overestimating the problem and scaring. They have a quote from the FBI in the ads that they run that was not a quote from the FBI. I talked to the FBI back when it was the FBI. And they never said that quote. So, you can keep an eye on it for yourself. Some states are now, and Washington State, I hope will get there soon, they actually do free watching for you. That makes it really, really easy. And all the things in life that we have to worry about, that is not the biggest thing, because they just don't instantaneously. They got to file things. They got to do stuff. All the title companies, I talked to Stewart Title, they're now aware that this is a possibility. They check things out before they change titles. I don't pay for the service. And there are a lot of things that I do to protect myself. By the way, credit monitoring, if you get a breach notice and it says you got free credit monitoring, take it. Nobody in America should have to pay for credit monitoring anymore. I must have gotten 6 notices in the last year. Just sign up for the free credit monitoring. Why not take advantage of it? I'll take one last one. Okay, ma'am.
Quick question. I didn't quite hear. You said you just wrote an article that in effect replace everything that you just told us today.
Yes.
How do
You go to checkbook.org. Well, that website, checkbook.org, and just search in the search engine for identity theft and fraud, and it will pop up that article on identity theft and fraud. Consumer Man, I don't have a search engine on it because I'm linking directly to all my checkbook stories. So Consumer Man is a great way to find all my checkbook stories, but I can't search because there's nothing to really search. It's gone back out to them. So, okay. If you have questions, sign up for go to my website. There's a mail thing there. Write me a question. I guarantee you I will answer you within the next week. I answer everybody who writes me. I'm happy to give you more information. You've been a great group. Thank you, and go Birds!